Welcome to the Wartime MMA podcast with your boy Alex, Tony, and Mike, who's horizontal. Sink is not with us today, but we are going to be breaking down UFC 316 in Newark, New Jersey. Historically, these cards are honestly kind of mid, but this card isn't very much different, but it has some quality, actually, I don't even know if I'd say that. I was going to say they have, some okay fights throughout, but it's they kind of have the main card filled with, lower main card fights and upper prelim level fights, and the rest are just early prelim fights. Some, I guess Chaos Williams is, a normal prelim fighter, but...
Yeah.
Most of these fights are, mid. I wouldn't say they're bad, some of them are, but most of them I'd say are just mid. Very, very, okay. But nonetheless, we get into it, breaking it down with the first fight of the night. At least on Tapology, it says it's the first fight of the night. Chaos Williams versus Andreas Gustafsson. Usually Chaos Williams doesn't open up a card, and he's debuting against a former Nazi, and Andreas Gustafsson. He has a tattoo right here of a falcon or something now with big wings, but before it was the Nazi eagle. So, black guy versus a Nazi here in the opening the card. And it's tough. I think Andreas Gustafsson's coming in, 34 years of age. He a little bit old to be making his debut at welterweight, especially. Welterweight, you can kind of get away with it. Lower division, he would not be able to. His game is clinch. He kind of is... And when I say clinch, it really is clinch. If you watch his Contender Series fight, he only is fighting in the clinch. It's really boring up until he knocks him out. Kind of like a welterweight Martin Boudet of sorts. Very, very clinch heavy, up against the fence, knees to the body, knees to the thigh. That type of fighting style. Chaos Williams has kind of been a part-time fighter lately. He's been interested in real estate, selling houses, that sort of stuff. Whereas Andreas Gustafsson is just a man of hatred. You can look at him. He's got the Nazi tats. He's got a pentagram, satanic symbol tatted on the back of his hand. This is just a hateful fucking. If you look at him right now, he looks like he'd be a villain in a John Wick movie. There's something about him where he's just bad intentions. Even the clinch, it's boring, and you're fucking get over with it already. And then he finishes him. So I think the clinch could actually help him here. Reach advantage is on the side of Chaos Williams, 77-inch reach. I didn't even know Chaos had arms like that big. I think running into the clinch is going to be the dangerous thing for Gustafsson. At range, I feel like Williams isn't really active enough to be a threat to sway Gustafsson from coming in, which could be to his detriment because he could not fear him come in, get knocked out. And I think that's how Chaos wins. He kind of gets Gustafsson right before he gets into the clinch and knocks him out while Gustafsson's rushing forward. I don't think Williams is active enough, really, though, to win the first round. He very rarely is. And I think Gustafsson will get to the clinch early, knees to the body, knees to the thigh. And just the way Gustafsson fights, he wears people down that way. Knees to the body, knees to the thigh. And I think if he's able to win the first round, Gustafsson he would have done his fair share of wearing Chaos Williams down to the point in which he'll be a lesser Chaos Williams in the second. And I think with a knockout guy like Chaos Williams... That's why he's inactive. He wants to keep his power. He wants to keep his activity. But if Gustafsson's making him work, he's going to lose that raw power and explosivity. And I think Gustafsson will probably take the fight just based on that. I think Cass has got to get him before he gets worn down. And Gustafsson does wear people down in a very there will be boos. There probably won't be enough people in the stands for the boos to really take effect. But if there were, it would be happening. I'm going to go Gustafsson. I think he's going to TKO him in the third, just a heavy clinch, boring, mauling, grinding style. It's not fun to watch up until just kind of knees to the body and thigh, just Chaos is all bruised up, and it's a good knee off to the head, rocks him and finishes him on the fence. So I'm going to say Gustafsson TKO, just wears him out. Yeah, probably I should. But.
Yeah. I'm going to side with Alex. I'm going to go with Gustafsson winning his debut by TKO. I don't really favor Chaos Williams at the moment. If I'm not mistaken, I think he has some side job other than the UFC, and that's what is making him less active. I forget what it was. I don't know if it's real estate or something like that. I think Alex told me. Alex, what was the job again that Chaos Williams?
He's a real estate agent or some shit like that.
Yeah, like dude's more invested in selling houses now than fighting. I mean, this is I can't go with a real estate agent in this type of scenario. And plus, Gustafsson's 34. Yes, it's not good, but I feel like it's going to be more motivation to win the fight because dude's getting older. Don't know when his next opportunity at hands is going to be. I'm not going to say the dude's going to be anything special, but I do think that is some motivation to win this fight. And I have seen Chaos get licked a couple times for too much for my liking. I think he's probably going to get TKO'd in the second or third.
Opening fight of the card. Chaos Williams is primarily a boxer, from my understanding. Don't really see him offensively grapple. I agree with Alex. I think his output isn't that great. I think he's very much a knockout artist and very reliant of that power, to be honest, because he's had a couple close fights with the Randy Brown and Rolando Bedoya that were split decisions, and they were able to make it a fight off the sheer output and volume. They were able to kind of equalize the power of Chaos Williams. And I agree with his systemic breakdown between the two styles pretty candidly. I think Gustafsson, if he does win the first round, not only would he have won the first round, but he would have made his investment shots to the gas tank of Chaos Williams with the knees to the body. He would have potentially opened a cut with elbows on the break that can help the optics going forward. If a cut's leaking in the second round, are the judges going to think that's still from the first, or will they take that account into scoring in the second round? You know, things like that, where if he's winning, not only is he winning in the short term, he's winning in the long term, in the scenario of, like, the longer the fight goes. And his style is very fatiguing and draining. Even at range, Chaos Williams is making these fights fairly close, and it's very much for knockout or bust. Like, decision-wise, I don't really think his style is very dependable or reliant, whereas Gustafsson, if this fight does go to decision, I think his style is actually pretty successful in a decision-based scenario where he would be earning control time. He would be the one going forward and the aggressor, controlling the center of the cage, imposing his will, getting cuts, leaking blood, like just taxing so many areas of a fight. So I'm actually going to go with the debutant in a decision win, in a grimy, hard-fought victory where he's able to just impose his will on Chaos Williams, take away the explosiveness like Alex alluded to, and just kind of wear him down and have his hand raised at the end of a 15-minute bout. I'm going to go with a Gustafsson decision.
Yeah, first unanimous sweep of the card. I also want to add real quick that Gustafsson's superior grappler in this fight. Chaos Williams just got subbed. And, we joke about Dober being a Nazi. Gustafsson's the real thing. So, it's going to be the real thing about Dober's fights, how it's always Dober beating the black guys up. Chaos Williams got a chance to right that wrong and beat up a real Nazi, who's from Sweden, which I didn't know, really. That shit went up to Sweden. I always thought Sweden was more neutral during World War II, but yeah, I think Gustafsson's probably not a Nazi anymore, but that's kind of crazy just to think about.
Yeah.
For his sake, I hope not.
Yeah, definitely a lot at stake here in the a lot of implications in the first fight of the night. So let's move on to our next fight, away from the World War II fight. Markel Medeiros versus Mark Choinsky. Shark. Debut on short notice for Mark Choinsky. I forgot who Medeiros was supposed to fight Balaji Oki this last weekend, and I don't know what really happened. They both, I guess, got short notice replacements. I don't know why they didn't just keep the fight together. It doesn't make a lot of sense, because Medeiros got this guy and Oki got Aswell. But looking at Mark Choinsky, he's 8-0, 29 years old. All of his opponents are dog shit. 8-7, 7-3, 2-8, 4-1, and 4-1. A lot of these guys are inexperienced at best. The best guy I can see is 7-3 John Simon. Ooh, that's your best win. Or one of these 4-1 guys. just in his recent career. He's 5'8", against a 5'10" Medeiros. Medeiros hasn't been much of a finisher. He's kind of shit the bed in a lot of his fights. Had a lot of questionable wins. A lot of people thought he lost against Austin Hubbard. A lot of people thought he lost against Landon Quinones. In his Contender Series fight, he got a pretty good knockout with a knee. Kind of been known for his jabs and calf kicks and just kind of range fighting and just kind of out footworking his opponents. I don't know much about Mark Choinsky, but I don't think he has the footwork really to fuck with a Medeiros. Medeiros does have good range. He has a good job of keeping his jab and his calf kicks and keeping his range by using those weapons. And Choinsky seems like he's more of a grappler. Comes from Rufus Sport. He just doesn't really look like a very muscular guy in the photo I'm seeing. He looks like he could maybe be a featherweight, whereas Medeiros, I think, more of a proper lightweight. And I think, when you got a guy like Medeiros who's very technical and wants to fight very pretty and careful, you kind of get the best out of him when you have an opponent like Choinsky in front of him, like somebody who's making their debut on short notice who probably isn't very good. This is when you kind of get a Medeiros to kind of open up and kind of show what he's about, and I can expect that. I think Medeiros will look better. I think he'll actually win clearly finally in his UFC career. I think he's going to chew up his leg and he's going to be busting up his jab, busting up his nose with the jab. And I think as the fight goes on, Choinsky's just going to try to grapple. And honestly, I could see Medeiros throwing up a knee. I could see him KOing Mark Choinsky. I kind of want to go decision just because Choinsky might be tough. He is 8-0, and Medeiros isn't much of a finisher, but something just makes me feel like this will be a good performance for Medeiros. I think I'm going to go TKO with the knee. He's going to chew him up on the legs, chew up his face. Choinsky's going to get desperate, shoot a stupid takedown, run into a knee, just like the guy in the Contender Series did. I'm going to say second round, knee. Yeah.
I've seen Medeiros fight, at least the two fights with Hubbard and why am I forgetting the other guy? Who was the guy he fought right before Hubbard? He fought. Who was it?
Landon Quinones.
Oh yeah, Landon. I like Landon more than most, but yeah, Medeiros. I think he didn't look great in the Hubbard fight. Very, controversial to many. A lot of people felt like Hubbard won 2 rounds to 1. I think that he was fortunate to get that cut in the 3rd round to really make the decision sway into his factor, and he was able to win that 3rd round. Hubbard, I don't think very highly of him, but he is fairly durable to an extent. Decent gas tank, trains at a good gym and Team Elevation, and he's just a legitimate 155er. I don't know anything really about Mark Choinsky. It's his UFC debut on short notice. I agree with Alex's sentiment in his Tapology photo. He looks like a fringe featherweight. Medeiros appears to be like the bigger fighter in this matchup. He's got more UFC experience. He was going to fight Balaji Oki, and Balaji just won against Michael Aswell, who, even though he lost, I picked him, and I still think that Aswell is a decent fighter and deserves a fight on a full camp in the UFC. But, based off his last performance and based off Balaji winning, that would have been in my opinion, more difficult matchup for Medeiros. So just off that sheer difference of opponent, I'm going to go Markel Medeiros here. I'm thinking decision. I think he's just going to pump the jab. I think he's going to land the leg kicks. I think he's going to be the more cleaner, more polished fighter, more ready for the moment type fighter. And even though he did show some holes in the grappling against Austin Hubbard, I'm going to imagine that his camp stress takedown defense going into this matchup, even though he was going to fight Balaji Oki, who is primarily a striker, I think especially with the short notice change of opponent, again, I don't really know any of Choinsky's style. I just have to imagine, regardless of whether he's a striker or a grappler or in between, that the Medeiros team would have stressed takedown defense coming off the Austin Hubbard win. So I'm going to go with a Medeiros decision where he just displays he's the more polished, ready fighter and better striker. Defends the takedowns and just lands the better shots.
Like,
I'm gonna go with the clean sweep here. I got what's his name again?
Marco Medeiros.
Yeah, I got Marco Medeiros beating that white next door neighbor next door ass name. I think he's gonna slaughter him probably because he's got the full camp and stuff. Don't really know too much about the dude that he's fighting, but looks. I mean, his record looks solid, but I don't know. Well, I guess we'll have to see. I got Markel Medeiros by decision. 29-28, maybe a 30-27.
All right, next fight is between Quillian Salkild versus Yanal Ashmus. Quillian Salkild just fought Anshul Jubli from India. Now he's fighting Yanal Ashmus in Israel. From Israel. The boy really fighting for his place in Agartha, if you know. It's really interesting to have fight somebody from India and then Israel back to back. Let's just say that. Quillian Salkild, definitely the bigger guy here. He's got the bigger reach. He's got the more imposing frame. He's 6 foot compared to Ashmus's 5'9", 75-inch reach versus the 68-inch reach of Yanal Ashmus. I think both of these guys kind of started as grapplers, but we've seen nothing but striking from the both of them in their UFC careers. On the Contender Series, Quillian Salkild grappled, and that's why I kind of thought he would probably lean more towards a grappling approach against Anshul Jubli, but he KO'd him in the first round very quickly. And I know it's Anshul Jubli, but the way Quillian Salkild kind of stepped off, overhand over the top, was pretty slick. As slick as it could have been, considering it was Anshul Jubli. And, you know, something about these Australians, they got sneaky good fucking striking. We saw it with that jiu-jitsu guy, Jonathan Mikulev, who just beat the striker in, what's his name? Kevin Jusset. And we thought Kevin Jusset should probably win. He's got the judo background and extensive kickboxing background. And Quillian Salkild's, what's his name? Mikulev is just a jiu-jitsu guy. But he came out with really slick body kicks and kickboxing. And he won completely on the feet. I think Quillian Salkild could be another scenario where Australian guys, not good striking, might have started as a grappler, and he has that to lay back on. But with his frame and his reach at lightweight, I could see him, you know, maybe just using his frame and coming out with some really tight boxing, maybe some front kicks, and showing the Australian striking. And we've been seeing it a lot lately with a lot of these young Australians. You know, your Cody Haddons, even the guy that lost to Toporia's brother, forgot his name, Colby Thickness. Yep. A lot of these guys are pretty technical, and they're pretty good on the feet. And I think Quillian Salkild will surprise us today on Saturday with his improved striking. Yanal Ashmus is a bit of a bear. He kind of has almost like a Mike Tyson style of like throwing punches, like where he wants to like wade in and hip down and come with hooks. And he's actually quite explosive when he's at his best. Yeah, Sam Patterson fight's probably the best example of that. In the Chris Duncan fight, he got his arm broken by a kick pretty early, and he just kind of sat there with one arm and got pieced up. Against Trevor Peek, it was kind of weird. He out-grappled Trevor Peek in a really boring fight and didn't try to strike with him at all, even though I felt like if he did, it would be a lot more fun, and I think Ashmus would probably win that too. But won by grappling, so he clearly has a grappling game. I think he could come in and try to KO Salkild. I definitely think he will. I don't think either one of these guys really has a grappling advantage over the other, unless Quillian Salkild's frame and overall size regards in a grappling advantage, just by him being able to stay on top longer, or maybe just more frame in the clinch, stuff like that. So if any way the grappling goes, I would lean Salkild. And the striking's close. You kind of got the rangy kickboxing Australian striking of Salkild versus like this Jewish Mike Tyson ginger style, where he's wading in and trying to just rip, like almost like Fazeev style. And I think the Ashmus could get a KO in this fight, but I did not like the way he did not trust his hands against Trevor Peek. I felt that was really weird to me. And, you know, maybe it was just the way I thought he looked against Sam Patterson, because I thought he looked very explosive and very, like, almost Mike Tyson-esque, just the way he was, like, throwing with, like, super intensity and, like, I guess maybe I won't go Mike Tyson. I'll say, like, Michael Chandler. Like, just the way he was, like, early Michael Chandler with, like, such intensity and, like, speed, it was, like, vicious. But, like, heavier combos, like a Fazeev. I think Salkild has the frame. I think he's going to surprise us with the striking. I think he's got the grappling as well. Most people are picking Salkild. I don't think this is a fight that should be 88-12 in favor of Salkild. I think it's a lot closer than that. I still question Salkild. I don't think he should be a minus 410 favorite, but I do think he wins. I think if he has to, he'll be the bigger guy in the clinch and the grappling scenarios as well, even if he does start getting hurt on the feet. But Ashmoose, I believe, is dangerous. He just has to bring that out and show it again. But I'm going to go Salkild by decision. I think he'll be able to do some work on the feet, and if the going gets tough, he'll be the bigger guy in the clinch and grappling scenarios. And I think he's just better trained. So I'm going to go Salkild. I'm going to say 29-28. Some damaging shots by Ashmoose make us scare, but Quinlan does the right thing, shows his IQ.
I got Quinlan winning this by decision. I do not like, Ashmoose's style. We're just gonna go by that. I'm going to keep it short and simple.
Right.
I think I'm going to keep the sweep train rolling. I'm going to go with Quinlan Salkild here too, and I think we're going to make it a clean sweep on the exact same pick. I think decision here. I think Yanela Shmooze is pretty tough, considering he had a broken arm and was able to go the distance with Chris Duncan, who, coming off the finish against Bellagioki in a comeback win, in my opinion. Being able to go the distance with a guy like that, even when your arm's broken, I do think that's impressive in that regard. I think pure power, maybe I'd give an edge slightly ever to Yanela Shmooze. But I agree with Alex's breakdown pretty candidly. I think, the range is very much in favor of Salkild. He's the bigger fighter. I think his versatility, whether it could be in the clinch, whether it could be grappling, whether it's, we've seen now, given the Anshel Jubilee performance in the striking, I think he can compete pretty much every area of a fight. And for me, Yanela Shmooze's best chance to victory is to close the distance and land big shots. If Salkild is able to maintain his range, he can dictate the tempo of the fight. And I just think he's more well-rounded and more versatile and has more ways to score points in this fight, whether it be controlling him in the clinch, landing shots at range, landing takedowns, getting submission attempts, whatever the case may be. I feel like he can compete pretty much every area of the fight, whereas Yanela Shmooze has to be going forward and cornering Salkild into an area where he can land explosive combinations. So I'm going to go with a Salkild decision and a clean sweep.
Yep, I think the clean sweep has been going on. I don't think it's going to stop right now either. Next fight is Azamat Murzakanov versus Brenson Ribeiro, which I feel like they could have got somebody better for Azamat. I just have to be honest.
I agree.
Really not all that. He beat that Kazakhstani dude, the 10-0 DR Nurgoze.
Yep.
So, and he was an underdog in that, but really it was more of Nurgoze being shit than anything else and just doing the wrong thing in the grappling. Kyle Mikado versus Ribeiro was the fight before that. Very close fight where they just stunk it up. It was terrible to watch. Kyle Mikado got fucking cut, even though he could have arguably won, and he wasn't very good. Ribeiro's not very good. He does have a long reach. I don't think that's anything new to Azamat. He's kind of used to being the smaller light heavyweight who kind of has to just come in and start throwing combos, kind of like Yanela moves earlier. Like if you're the smaller fighter, you got to come in and throw those combos and be fast and powerful. Like Mike Tyson, that's why he did it so well, because he was slow center of gravity, awkward, hit hard, and was super fucking fast. And I'm not going to say this guy's Mike Tyson, but against a guy like Ribeiro, Murzakanov fought bigger guys than him his whole career. He's used to getting up close and landing the combination he needs to finish the fight. I don't think it'll be any different here. I think it'll be a first-round KO in a brutal fashion. Yeah, Murzakanov needs to... He's 36. He needs to fucking get a top guy pretty soon, I think, because I don't care about this fight. Like, it was originally supposed to be, I think, Johnny Walker, and now Johnny Walker's facing, I think, Guskov. No, he's facing Minyang Zheng. He's facing Minyang. So, and Guskov's facing Krylov.
Yes.
I don't know. I just think Azamat's better in every regard. I don't think Ribeiro's good really at all. I think this is something, like, obviously, it's a pretty clear pick what goes down, and Mirzakanov's just gonna body head, body head, something like that. Body opens up the head. Ribeiro doesn't have the IQ to not get caught by these things. But Mirzakanov's historically inactive. Maybe he comes in with an injury and we see the worst version of him. Who knows? But when Azamat shows up, I trust that it's a healthy version of him. Otherwise, he'd be inactive like he is any other time. So I trust a Mirzakhanov who has a fight signed. So I'm going to go Mirzakhanov, brutal KO, body head.
I'm going to side with Alex. I think Azamat Mirzakhanov is good in this division. Possibly a future contender, top contender in the making. He's really, really main thing. The only one thing I can critique is the inactivity, but other than that, dude's just very solid. He's got very good striking. I haven't really seen much of his grappling, but dude pushes forward for his size in this weight class. I don't think he would lose to a Ribeiro per se. I would probably mainly see him probably lose to somebody maybe in the top 5 around that range. But yeah, I'm gonna go with first or second round KO by Azamat Mirzakhanov. I think Alex has pretty much said it best.
Yeah, I think we're going to keep the clean sweep train rolling here. I'm also going to go Azamat Mirzakhanov. I think we're going to see, a good performance out of him. Mike and Alex said it best. I think considering his frame in this 205 weight class, I think he's pretty much held his own, man. Like, he's a very well-rounded fighter. Hasn't really shown us the grappling, but he hasn't really needed to, He's got good technicality in his striking, good enough power, good speed considering his age. I think he's pissed off. I think he's coming off the PED suspension, and if I'm not mistaken, was he not supposed to fight Nikita Krylov?
Azamat?
Yeah.
I think probably at one point. He's been booked to fight everybody, low-key.
I feel like he had that booking, and that would be his opportunity to crack a real legitimate top 10 ranking spot. They canceled the bout. He just popped for a PED suspension. I think he's pissed off. I think he's older, past 35. I think he understands urgency, time of the moment. I think he deserves a better opponent than this, and he's going to showcase it. I'm going to go with the first round TKO, just like Alex said. Body head. I couldn't agree anymore. I think the only advantage Ribeiro has in this matchup is his reach. That's kind of it. And I think Mirzakhanov's got the IQ, the experience, and the skill to cut off that advantage and actually turn it into a disadvantage for Ribeiro.
Yep. Clean sweep train rolls along on.
Yes, sir.
Moving on to next fight, an all-Asian matchup between Korea's Ju Sang-yu and Indonesia's Jeka Sargi. Interesting here. Ju Sang-yu's coming in his debut here. He's 8-0. Fucking massive favorite. Minus 500, it says on Tapology. I don't like that for somebody making their debut who's only 8-0. And I'm seeing here, Tapology, gives you 5 fights to look at when you're looking at the bout page. One of them is a decision win over 25-26 guy. You should be finishing that guy. Decision over 35, 25, and 11 guy. I don't know why he's 11 no contests. That means something went wrong. You should be finishing that guy. He's finishing a guy who's 5-2. Okay. He's going a decision with an 18-7 guy. That's an okay record, at least, compared to the 25-26 we were seeing earlier. And then he gets a KO over 10-4 guy. He doesn't fill me with the most confidence, to be honest. I don't think he's going to come into the UFC and make crazy waves all of a sudden. He's 31, a bit older to make your debut with the featherweight division than I would like. I think you kind of got to be in your 20s if you're going to be a debuting guy at featherweight or below. Or even lightweight, to be honest, outside of Bellator guys coming over. Jeka Sargi, kind of the same thing. He doesn't have a good win under his belt. His best win is Lucas Alexander in the UFC, where he was getting fell off balance, saw him, knocked him out. And he was fucking up Weston Wilson just to get submitted. I don't like that. He beat Weston Wilson's ass just to get submitted. They're losing to Anshul Jabli. Never a good look. Let's be real. I think Ju Sang-yu's he looks like the bigger fighter. He's got more frame to him. I'm going to trust him just based on. I'm going to guess that some of the people that are betting on him for him to be a minus 500 favorite actually watched and saw something that they believe in. Because Jekasargi's tough. He's very mid, but he can beat people. And he could beat Ju Sang-yu, but I think Ju Sang-yu coming in as the prospect, 8-0, heavy favorite. I know Jekasargi's not good. I'm just going to lean towards the favorite, I think, in this one. 8-0. I've never seen Ju Sang-yu fight. I've seen Jekasargi fight multiple times, but never been impressed once, even when he does win, like in the Lucas Alexander fight. Lucas Alexander's kind of ass, and he just fell over and got back up, and he caught him while he was standing back up. So, Ju Sang-yu, I'm going to just say decision, or maybe I'll say submission. I think Jekasargi's low-key always able to get submitted. I'm going to say submission at some point. I don't know how good of a grappler Ju Sang-yu is. But lately, a lot of the Koreans have been showing a really good grappling, so I'm going to trust that. I'm going to say submission. Why not?
Yeah, my thoughts exactly. I've never seen Ju Sang-yu. Is that correct? Is that his name?
That's his name.
Yeah, I've never seen him fight. Making his debut, heavy favorite. We have seen Jekasargi fight, and I agree completely with Alex's statement. No spoiler alert. Even when he wins, it doesn't really impress me. I don't even know what Ju Sang-yu looks like. I'm just gonna guess he's the bigger fighter because Jekka's not very big for his weight class. And in my mind, for him to be a minus 500 favorite, given the lack of the experiences towards Jekka I want to say is like 14-3 or something, and he's like 8-0. For him to be that big of a favorite, there has to be an aspect of the fight that they're very confident he is clearly better in. And in my opinion, Jekasargi's fighting chance is on the feet. I agree with Alex said. It feels like in the grappling exchanges, Jekka is not very good. So I'm gonna piggyback off his assessment, and I'm thinking a submission is bound to happen where Ju Sang-yu, I'm just gonna imagine, is bigger, able to get the takedown, able to advance in dominant positions and find a submission. I'm thinking in round. Fuck it, I'll go round one. Yeah, I'm going to go with a round one submission for Ju Sang-yu. I've never seen him fight. I don't even know what he looks like. I'm just going off of what I've seen from Jekasargi. I think his best chance is on the feet, so let's take that away from him. Let's grapple him. Let's be the bigger fighter. And I don't rate Jekka's submission defense at all, especially considering how the Weston Wilson fight went. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go to Ju Sang-yu first round submission.
I think I'm going to go with the Asian dude. I think the Asian dude Jekasargi. Jekasargi did not look good in his last fight that I watched, and what these two said early on, they pretty much said it best. Even when he loses, doesn't look impressed. Doesn't look like he even belongs in the UFC, to be honest. So I think I'm gonna go with Ju Sang-yu by club and sub in the second. Or first.
Clean sweep keeps on rolling.
Yes, sir. Moving on to our next fight. Heavyweight matchup between Sergey Spivak versus Waldo Cortez Acosta. It's a bit of a tough one for me. I've seen Spivak more than I've seen Waldo. Spivak's fought more quality opponents than Waldo has. Waldo's been winning more. I would say he has more momentum behind him. A lot of these wins, though, Lucas Bresky, ass. Very close decision win against old man Andrei Arlovsky, who arguably should have won that fight. Held down Robellis, who we know has no grappling. Austin Lane did the same thing. And then he fucked up Ryan Spann in a very sloppy shit fight. And Ryan Spann looked worse than he's ever looked. You know, I was honestly thinking about going with Waldo Cortez before making this podcast, but as I'm saying all this, he doesn't really have a great win to his name. You know, he's losing to Jared Vandera, pretty much. I think he got the win on that. It doesn't show up on here, but I thought Jared Vandera beat him. And Marcos Rogerio also beat him. And Marcos is way better than Jared is. I'll give him that. But something they had in common that helped beat him was calf kicks. It's a major weakness on the side of Waldo Cortez Acosta. That is not something Spivak does. Spivak is very sloppy, boppy, and shit on the feet. We all know how Spivak wins. It's by submission or just by grappling. So I need to think that Waldo, if I'm going to pick him to win, he's going to have to either KO Spivak before he grapples him or defend the grappling. So I have to believe in Waldo's grappling. Who has he faced that shot takedowns on him? Did Andre shoot takedowns on him? Maybe, but I don't think any of them really happened. I think it was just a footwork battle. I think Marcos might have. Rogerio de Lima might have got a takedown after he fucked up his calf. But I can't really think of a time Waldo Cortez Acosta really got molested in the grappling like that. And I know Spivak's definitely a better grappler than all the guys he's ever fought. But I think Spivak's just available on the feet. Jailton Almeida smoked him on the feet. And Jailton Almeida never smoked anybody on the feet before. And I do think it has to be said that Spivak took down Almeida. Butt to ass to ground, he took him down. That was an official takedown. Had him down for a while, if I remember right, for a couple minutes, or at least a minute. He had Almeida down, and I put weight into that, because if you can get Almeida down, you could probably get Waldo down. I think I'm going to go Sergey Spivak. Just on that, I do not like, or I guess I should say I like Spivak took down Almeida, and I do not like that Waldo's career is filled with bums. He's only beating bums and old men. And flabby Ryan Spann coming up from light heavyweight. Marcos Rogerio de Lima beats him with the calf kicks. Okay, I was thinking you might need calf kicks to beat Waldo. But to be honest, we've just seen a lot more Spivak. Spivak really does have a good ground game. He doesn't have much on the way of feet at all. If you're picking Waldo, pick him by knockout. Pick it early. But, excuse me, Spivak, I think Spivak's going to get it. I got to switch my pick on here. I'm going to say second round submission by Spivak. Waldo might try to put up a fight, but I think Spivak he's going to get the assignment. He's going to get in on the legs early. He's going to show his superior skill in the ground game. Waldo's ass. I was thinking, you know what? Spivak's so available on the feet, he'll probably get chinned, but fucking Waldo's ass. We got to be honest. Beat nothing but bum. So I'm going to go Spivak. I'm going to go second round submission. I'm going to change my pick on Tapology. I'm going to say Kimura or Americana. Some type of Spivak-ass submission where he gets him on top and puts the arm behind his back. Yeah, Spivak. Waldo's ass. Waldo's fucking ass.
I'm gonna agree with Alex. I do not like Waldo Cortez Acosta style-wise. I think he's got mid ground game, and the reason why he looks good is because he's fighting fucking old. He's fighting just trash fighters. He's not, Ryan Spann. Alex said it best. Like these guys that the competition he's fighting are just either old, out of prime fighters, and just mid. Andre Arlovsky, I thought, arguably won that fight against Waldo. I feel like I didn't rewatch the fight, of course, because the fight was shit. But regardless of like what I say, like I rate even though he lost, I rate the performance that he had against Almeida, because he arguably could have possibly beaten Almeida if he wasn't so fucking fat and retarded, Sergey Spivak. If he wasn't so fat and retarded, we probably would have had a good matchup. We would have had a good matchup and seen how it would have went, but athleticism lost that fight. I don't think athleticism. I think Sergey's the more athletic fighter, to be honest with you. I know that sounds crazy to say because they're both blobs, but Waldo's just, I don't know. I don't like his style. I think it's boring. I don't think it's all that. Like, I think he's only knocking out trash fighters. I'm going to go with Sergey Spivak by... I'm going to go either decision or submission. One of the two. But I feel like if it goes to a decision, I think that's Waldo's way to win. I'm gonna go submission. Or ground and pound TKO.
Tough fight, man. This is tough. Wow. Okay. The Polar Bear and Salsa Boy. This is your classic grappler versus striker matchup in the heavyweight division. You know, for what it's worth, Sergey Spivak, only really does lose to the top tier heavyweights. He loses to Aspinall. He loses to Cyril Gane, Jalton Almeida. I want to say he lost to Tybura the first time, I think. I think he may have lost to him. And Walt Harris, I think, also beat him. At the time, Walt Harris was a good heavyweight. Alex and Mike are right. Waldo Cortez Acosta, for the most part, truly has never really faced a legitimate opponent in MMA. He's fighting older fighters, inexperienced fighters, and just not real heavyweights, to be frank. He fought Ryan Spann, moving up to heavyweight. He wasn't really in heavyweight weight, honestly. Like, he was just a fat 205er, to be honest. But no question, the strength of schedule is very much in favor of Spivak. He averages roughly 4+ takedowns a fight. He's got I want to say at least a 60% takedown accuracy, something along those lines. So he's efficient with the takedowns. He knows when to get them. But on the feet, he is hittable. He's not special. And I do give the advantage on the feet to Waldo Cortez Acosta. This is a really tough fight, man, because where I think Spivak has the experience advantage and he's fought just the overall better competition, I do think Waldo Cortez Acosta, there is a legitimate path for him to win this fight on the feet. I do believe he is the superior boxer, and if Sergey isn't able to exploit the low kick defense in particular that we've noticed in Waldo's game, being primarily a boxer who only really uses his hands, if you can't exploit that and you're not getting takedowns, I don't really see a way you win if you're Sergey. He's got better wins. He beat Tybura. He beat Derek Lewis. These are good wins. And he finished both of these guys with the grappling. I'd like to think Derek Lewis does his best work against grapplers traditionally and throughout his career. I think he's had more tougher time against the strikers. And Tybura, even though he just robbed Mick Parkin, he's a well-rounded heavyweight. He can do a little bit of everything. He's got a good gas tank. He's got good output. I'm very torn on this fight. This is a very 50-50 fight.
I was torn too, man.
This is really tough, man, because I want to keep the clean sweep streak alive, but if Sergey's not getting them takedowns, I think he's a sitting duck. This is tough.
That's why I picked Spivak, that's why I picked Waldo originally. But
right, this is such a binary fight.
Waldo like Spivak with the grappling. No grapplers ever fought Waldo like Spivak.
Right.
Everybody Waldo's fought has been ass, and everybody Spivak has fought has been heavyweight standards. Good.
Right.
So that's kind of what swayed me. As viable as he was open on the feet, Waldo ain't got no slick boom, any shit like that.
Right.
He's boppy fight with Ryan Spann. I think he got to be slick to kind of like Almeida. I'll give him credit. He was slick on the feet. He stepped in, hand over the top. He has some hands that he just keeps hitting from us. Waldo's just kind of he's throwing fastballs out there. That's it.
Right, he's slugging for real. And fucking, even if it's not from a technical aspect, just Almeida being a former 205er, he just has a speed advantage over Spivak.
Yeah. Man, I hear you, though. He's so available to be hit.
This is such a black and white binary fight. This goes one of two ways. It's either Spivak mauls or but Waldo looks like a boxer.
Your boy. You got to remember that. He took down your boy Almeida. That's not something people do easily.
That is true. Curtis Blades couldn't do that. That's true.
Yeah. I don't think Almeida really expected it either, but again, it was impressive to spend time on top of Almeida.
This is so tough. But you know what?
If you take down Almeida, you can take down Waldo.
I've seen Waldo get taken down by fucking DeLima and stuff, and I think Sergey Spivak's a better grappler than DeLima.
This is so fucking tough for me. I want to break it, but you know what? I'm gonna roll with the bros on this one. I'm gonna keep the sweep streak alive. I'm gonna rock with Moldova, and I'm gonna go with the polar bear. I'm gonna go with Mike and Alex on this one. I want to pick Waldo Cortez Acosta, but he is fighting nobody. At least he fought the people that he's losing to. He's supposed to lose to. He's supposed to lose to. Yeah. I'm going to say
Don't
he
worry.
gets the takedowns.
Streak will be broken, I think, soon enough.
Yeah.
Probably.
I'll go with the polar bear. Fuck it. He is younger, I guess. So, I guess.
Yeah.
If he gets him to
That's a tough one, though. That is one of the tougher ones to pick on the card.
That is tough, man. That's a tough fight. Plus, I think Waldo's like 30 pounds heavier than Spivak. Apparently, on ESPN, like their last fight listed, like Spivak came in at 233, Waldo came in at like 260. So he might just be too fat to take down. We'll see. We'll see.
All right, moving on to our next fight. And I would say I have two interesting picks on this card. This has one of them in it. This next fight is a women's fight between Ariane Lipski da Silva versus Kong Wang. You know, usually there's a couple rules we go by in women's MMA when picking them. One of them is, you know, if you can't come up with one, flip a coin, because it really is like that sometimes. But a lot of it is looking at these lesbian features of the women, right? We look at a woman like Kong Wang, and we're like, she probably fucks other women. Like, she'll probably beat Ariane Lipski, you know? And look at her. She fought Shevchenko back in the day. She's big Chinese girl, you know, big Wei Li, you know, stuff like that. You know, she's got fucking, like, muscles on muscles, stuff like that. Like, more masculine female MMA fighter archetype. And on the other hand, you have Lipski, who's pretty hot, you know? So you kind of have, like, your OnlyFans archetype there, you know? But I don't think she does OnlyFans, but she definitely could. She's like that type of bitch. You know, looking at the way these girls strike, I know Kong Wang's the kickboxer. I know she has more credentials. I know she's more powerful. I know she's more manly. Watching her strike, I don't see it. I don't care that she knocked out Victoria Leonardo. Everybody has. Everybody. Come on. Like, we're not going to bring that up now, are we? It's like, the way she knocked out Victoria Leonardo, one punch. It's everybody. Like, you know what I mean? And then to go on and lose to Gabriela Fernandez, who's a nobody. I don't even know who Gabriela Fernandez, like, lost to before that or after that, but I know she lost, like, to plenty of people. She's not good. And this is a bitch who out-dyked Kong Wang. You know what I mean? You got out-dyked, you know, and then dropped. Like, you let a girl who's mostly a grappler unsub you, drop you with the big lesbian power, and then submit you. I don't like that if you're going to get out-lesbianed. To me, that means you're a fake lesbian. That doesn't matter anymore. I wipe that away from the slate. Kong Wang probably has a husband that we don't know about. You know what I mean? So I think Kong Wang is honestly not a lesbian. I think it's not a part of the prediction here. I think Ariane Lipski is more technical, more faster. I think she uses her tools better, and I think she honestly has better hands, better kicks. And I'm going to pick Ariane Lipski by decision here. I think Kong Wang, you know, I remember when Kong Wang was facing Bruno Silva, which was her last fight. There were some people picking Bruno Silva in that fight. I think somebody in the call did. I think maybe you did, Tony. Maybe you could back that up. But I think somebody might have picked Bruno Silva to beat Kong Wang. And it was close. It was a close prediction for me because I understood. Like, I think Bruno Silva is better trained with the fighting nerds. I think she's actually a cleaner striker in some regards, like her kicks. And I think if she, you know, showed up like she did against Molly McCann, she could win. Molly McCann's ass, of course, but I think Ariane Lipski is a better version of that archetype of female fighter. Like, a Bruna Silva kind of keeps her range, tactical striking, and man, like, Ariane Lipski really had some momentum going for a while. She submitted Casey O'Neill, which was impressive to me too. Like, she clearly has gotten some grappling to her name now. Lost to Jasmine Jasudavicius recently, which Jasmine's good. She lost to Karine Silva, who held her down for 3 rounds. Kong Wang won't do that. Kong Wang does have a mounted guillotine on her resume, but I don't think she's anywhere as fast or as technical as Ariane Lipski is on the feet. And on the facet of them being straight women, I should say, Ariana Lipsky has a relationship with a coach. Obviously that's weird. Rose Namajunas grooming, but I have to say, like, when these women do have relationships with their coach, they usually benefit from it in the cage. We've seen this with what's her name? Dan Hardy's girl, Veronica Macedo. She after she married Dan Hardy, we really saw an improvement in her striking and overall just IQ in the cage. And I feel like we saw that in Lipsky's game as well. I just think she's better trained, she's better coached. I think Kong Wang has drank a little bit too much of her Kool-Aid with the whole Valentina Shevchenko history shit and the kickboxing background. And I think she just expects to knock these girls out. And I think, we got to think, kickboxing, okay, she came in as a kickboxing. We don't give any weight to women's MMA. They're not good. Why should we give any weight to women's kickboxing? I'll give you a hint. I watch women's kickboxing and Muay Thai in ONE FC. They're trash. The only one that's good, Stamp Fairtex. That's it. All the other ones are bad. You know what I mean? So I don't think Kong Wang's kickboxing career is, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter to me. You know what I mean? You're beating bitches that are mid. So I think Ariane Lipsky's just cleaner. She's better to look at. I think if in a closer fight, they'll honestly favor that. We already have Chinese talent. We don't need another Wei Li. Sure, like, she could have fought Shevchenko, but we already have it in our mind that she's not really good. She knocked out the bummiest bum of the division, Victoria Leonardo, loses to another bum, Gabriel Fernandez, just because she got out lesbianed. And then you fought Bruna Brazil, who, didn't do a lot. And I wasn't impressed by that fight either. I think Lipsky's better, and I'm going to pick her by decision. Heaps, knees. I think she's going to have I think Muay Thai beats kickboxing in this regard in MMA with the clinch. I think the calf kicks are superior. I don't see Kong Wang throwing a lot of kicks. She's kind of like shitty kicks when she throws them, but mostly a boxer. I think Lipsky's got the kicking advantage by a lot. And I think she's faster with the hands. I'm going to go Lipsky by decision.
I feel like this is where the streak ends. It's not a bad underdog pick, though. It's not a bad underdog pick. I like the pick. I've had some history of picking Ariane Lipsky in my fair share of times. Shout out to the old Tapology battles Alex and I used to have. I used to
fucking JJ Aldridge. How dare you bring that up? She's ranked. You know she's fucking ranked in the UFC right now. She's number 15 in her division. JJ Aldridge. She should be cut from the sport.
Oh my gosh.
Mike. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. No, I'm saying, oh my gosh, like I didn't even know that. But yeah, I can't believe it. In Big 2025, Alex is picking the person I beat him in the Tapology series because of. Yeah. But here we go. He's living it off. He's living off the Ariane Lipsky underdog picks. I like it. I'm not gonna lie. I could see myself switching. But I think Kong Wang's probably gonna get it done. There has been time where I have seen Lipsky quit under pressure in certain scenarios. If Kong Wang comes in like how I'd expect her to come in, I can see her just making Lipsky quit in this fight. I don't think it's gonna be a TKO or anything. I think it's gonna be a decision, ass whooping performance. But I could see Lipsky pulling off an underdog upset. Shout out to Alex on that pick. I can't lie. That is a smart pick. I do want to pick her. I told Tony this too on FaceTime. I wanted to pick her, but
yeah, we'll probably talk about this again off FaceTime or in other videos. So
yeah, or check out my Instagram. I post my last minute predictions on the fight day. So who knows?
Yeah, we'll start clipping our Instagrams under the comments or whatever in the description, so you can check us out individually. I'm gonna make a Wartime MMA podcast Instagram where we can upload clips from the shit too. So
you know what? I have an account that we can use for that. I'll just give you all the info. It's a dead account anyway, so We'll use that as the wartime MMA account.
Yeah. We'll clip him. Funny.
Tough fight. Yeah, I feel like the Kong Wang hype kind of got humbled in the Gabriela Fernandez fight, where she got clubbed and subbed. I feel like a lot of people were shocked by that. I do think Ariane Lipski, in an MMA standpoint, has fought the clearly better competition. She trained an American Top Team and then left and actually got privately trained by Amanda Nunes. So I thought that was like a good little moment in her career where she could really take knowledge from the GWOT. I rate her win against Casey O'Neill very heavily. As Mike and Alex and even Sink would tell you, I am a Casey O'Neill fan. I think that she is good. I think she's better than people think. And for her to get a submission win over her and the grappling, that is impressive to me. I really do rate that. Because I haven't seen Casey get out-grappled since that, if ever. I think Kong Wang is the better striker from a kickboxing standpoint. But as Alex alluded to, I do think, we do rate the Valentina Shevchenko win, fights, very heavily. But this is MMA. This is not just striking. This is clinch. This is grappling. This is wrestling, jiu-jitsu. These are other factors of a fight that could drastically shift the fight. And when we talk about Kong Wang's grappling, there's nothing to be said. She has the submission from Mount that on her record, but I don't see that happening to Lipski. I think Lipski's the better grappler. I think Lipski has had better training partners for MMA throughout the entirety of her career. Me and Mike were actually talking about this fight before we were making this video, and the one sentiment that we both agreed was Kong Wang should not be minus 350. I think that's pretty expensive, considering that she is primarily just a specialist. Even though she has the submission win in her record, I don't really rate that. I don't view her offensively grappling like that. I think there's more ways for this fight to be closer than not. The only real way this looks like a blowout is if Kong Wang just absolutely schools Ariane Lipski on the feet. Is it possible? Yes. But in an MMA setting where takedowns can, drastically shift the fight, it's a tough fight. I was thinking Kong Wang going into this, but hearing Alex's breakdown, looking at the strength of schedule, looking at the training partners she's had in the MMA setting, if Kong Wang doesn't smoke her early, I feel like Ariane Lipski can make this a real fight.
Mm-hmm.
I think I might be switching my pick. I was on Kong Wang early, but I don't know. So Ariane Lipski is the more well-rounded fighter. She's fought better people. I really do rate out-grappling Casey O'Neill in exchanges. I think that's very impressive, considering Kong Wang's grappling. So yeah, I think I'm going to go with Ariane Lipski in an underdog pick in a decision win, where she's able to get takedowns, mix in MMA, not make this the type of fight that Kong Wang wants, and really just kind of copy and paste Gabriela Fernandez's way to winning. Now, is Ariane Lipski going to club and sub Kong Wang? Probably not, but try to take note of what strikes were effective. How did Gabriela Fernandez close distance, aside from obviously clubbing and subbing, but just try to mix in things. Try not to make this a one-dimensional fight where Kong Wang can just kind of catch you. I'm going to go with Ariane Lipski decision and an upset.
Our boy, Joshua Van versus Bruno Silva. The flyweight fight here. Joshua Van, honestly, it's starting to feel like he's starting to become an OG. He's been around, being active, too. He's 13-2 right now. I believe he came into the UFC 7-1 or something like that. And Joshua Van is quite fucking good. And I really everybody I feel like likes seeing him fight. Every time we see him, he improves. He's learning more grappling ability. I feel like getting better with his defense, not getting hit as much. His defensive grappling has gotten really good, and I think against a guy like Bruno Silva, he kind of needs like a one-punch knockout against a superior boxer who has way better defense like Joshua Van. I honestly think Joshua Van is slick enough just to mix in like a Cody Garbrandt-ass takedown, even if he wanted to, like a slip takedown, something like that, where they're just not expecting it. He does interesting shit in there, like that reminds me of like when he was pulling the heel hook. It was a stupid idea, but just the way he did it reminded me like Dillashaw fucking throwing up the knee bar or like the calf slicer on fucking Tucker. Like it was very like I was like this motherfucker's like he's going for things. You know what I mean? Like he feels confident enough in himself where he's like, let's see if this works. And while he's way ahead, you know what I mean? And like that's when you can do those things, like when you can test things out. I feel like that's some real like high level shit. Like when you're really like testing things out in the cage, nearly. And I think like Joshua Van's like a prodigy in that way. He's 23 years old. He's got great hands, great defense. He's learned the MMA game really quickly. I assume he started as a boxer, but I think just like Bruno Silva, he needs that big punch, and I don't think he'll find it on Joshua Van, who's just a superior striker in every way. I don't think Bruno Silva really has like a kicking game to the level of crippling Joshua Van or anything like that with calf kicks. And you know, maybe that is a weakness that hasn't been seen in Joshua Van's game. But I think Joshua Van's jab, his body work, is literally next to none in flyweight history. His body work is the best in flyweight history. I don't think there's another person's body shots that are Joshua Van's at flyweight ever. So I think you could see a wide-bodied person who's kind of relying on his power. Bruno Silva getting ripped to the body and losing that power, losing his gas tank. We get into round 2, we get into round 3, and Joshua Van's just beating the shit out of him and finishes him. I think this is a Joshua Van finish. I know Bruno Silva's supposed to be one of his better opponents that he's fought up to this point, but I don't think he's can fight the boxing fight the way like Charles Johnson could against Joshua Van. I don't think he has that skill set. I think he's an MMA striker, and I think he's not good enough to fight Joshua Van. I think this is like if you shrunk a featherweight and put him down at, like if you shrunk a Patricky Pitbull or something and put him at flyweight, this is the way the fight would happen. I think Joshua Van is just better in every way. Maybe Bruno Silva can like throw up a fucking double leg or some shit that he learned from Cejudo, but Joshua Van's gonna get up, he's gonna get out, and he's shown that he's great defensively on the ground. He's just gonna fuck him up. I'm gonna say body shots throughout the fight lead to a finish in the third round where he just Poirier's his ass on the fence. Joshua Van, impressive TKO in the third.
I'm sorry. Wait, what happened?
I said the Malaysian sensation, but I don't think he's Malaysian.
Yeah. I should have just left at me cutting you off there.
From Myanmar.
Yeah.
Myanmar.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the same thing. I got Joshua Van. Everybody knows this. I'm a huge Joshua Van fan. I know that rhymed. Kill it. And unalive myself here with that awful pun. I just think Joshua Van is the future of this division. His boxing is very crispy. How he handles against grapplers is very good. He's just so overall I've never seen him in a boring fight. I think this fight is going to be entertaining, and I think it's just going to be a dominant fashion. I think it's going to look like not like the Minot Cap fight, more of a boxing heavy approach, but I think it's going to be just an ass whooping by Joshua Van. I think Joshua Van's going to put him down in the second round with just mean body shots. I think it'll just look like a Joshua Van performance. He'll start slow in the first round, then he'll find his momentum in the just puts Bruno Silva in the second. I think Joshua Van's going to be a future star in the making here, possibly a future champion. I like him.
Prelim headliner. Joshua Van coming off a very just absolutely impressive win against another prospect in Ray Soria. We all picked him in that fight. He looked great. Defended the takedowns. Just a clinical performance from Joshua Van in that one. I do reckon Bruno Silva is more durable, more powerful, more dangerous on the feet than Ray Soria. But I do think Ray Soria is the more superior grappler, the better scrambler. great transitions and just submission attempts, all the same. But I think from a technical aspect, I think Joshua Van's one of the best in this weight class. I think his boxing is phenomenal for MMA standards. I want to say he's top 3, if not leading UFC in strikes landed per minute in that particular stat line. I think he's if not leading it, definitely top 3 in the UFC. He averages like 6 to 7 plus significant strikes or something per minute. It's an insane stat line. He's got great output, great volume, great cardio, great takedown defense, good technique. The only real concern for Joshua Van is his frame. His power doesn't necessarily put people away, but he's just so good of a boxer that he doesn't even necessarily need the power. But if I had to critique 2 particular weaknesses in his game, I would say just his frame and power doesn't put people away, and he's not terribly imposing to his opponent at flyweight. And you could argue he's a one-dimensional striker with the boxing, but he'll mix in a kick or two and a knee attempt here and there. I think Bruno's got a puncher's chance, quite literally. Like, he needs to land a big shot to win, really. I don't see him winning in the grappling. I think Van lands more. He's the better boxer. I'm copy and paste Alex's prediction. That was my sentiment when I saw this fight exactly. 3rd round TKO Joshua Van, where he's just able to wear down Bruno Silva with body shots. He just looks sharp. He's too quick. He's too slick. And he just finds his ways to rip through that gas tank, and it'll eventually lead to Bruno Silva fatiguing and crumbling in the 3rd round. So I'm going to go with a Joshua Van 3rd round TKO in the prelim headliner, and he keeps it moving. Great momentum.
Indeed. A clean sweep. The sweep was already broken with the Kong Wang Lipsky fight.
Yep.
Potential to get on another one, at least for a little bit. We shall see. Moving on to our first fight of the main card. Really good fight that I'm actually really interested in seeing. Mario Batista versus the debuting former Bellator champion, Patchy Mix. Good fight. I'm really interested to see how Patchy Mix does in the UFC. Likewise, any other Bellator PFL fighter that makes the crossover, I'm always very interested in see how they do in their debut, whether it be MVP or Patricio, even though that fight was ass. But there's been a lot of debuts of Bellator fighters lately, and Patchy Mix is the latest addition to that. Patchy Mix, if you're not familiar with him, very long grappler, mostly jiu-jitsu guy. Lately, he's been adding knockouts to his resume. Knocked out Ravion Stotts with a knockout with a knee to the head, which I thought was very impressive. Stotts was pretty much the champion, even though I think he was the interim champion technically for a long time while Pettis was injured. And he submitted Pettis too. He submitted Magomed Magomedov, also had a split decision with him very recently, which isn't the best look, to be honest, if you're already have submitted him once before, but you never know what happens before the cage. I think the best version of Patchy Mix beats the best version of Mario Batista, and that's what's going to make me pick Patchy Mix. I think Mario Batista is okay in every elements of the fight. He's not got a weakness really anywhere. I have to be honest, I don't think he's got the best chin. I don't think he really has that dog in him like that either. I think he's kind of somebody that wants to get in and get out. I think, Mario, he's got pretty decent boxing. He beat Ricky Simone, which that has also been proven recently that's still a good win. Ricky Simone slept Javid Basharat not too long ago. So Mario's definitely got it. He's been on a long win streak, but so is Patchy. I think the thing that really sets this apart is the grappling factor for Patchy Mix. He's very good on the ground. He's submitting a lot of good guys. He's had close fights with other good grapplers such as Kyoji Horiguchi or Magomed Magomedov. I don't think Batista's really a grappler like that. I think he's more of a guy that wants to make it grimy in the clinch and just kind of win rounds, win points. I think he's a guy that will win by any means if he can. But in this fight against Patchy Mix, I actually think the clinch is one of the last places Mario wants to be. Patchy's got he's taller, he's longer, he's got a bigger frame. I wouldn't be surprised if he has the longer leg reach as well. I think in the clinch is where Patchy gets some submissions. He could snatch guillotines, he could go knees to the body. I don't think a clinch is a place Mario Batista really wants to be with Patchy Mix. I think Mario probably wants to outbox him. And Patchy Mix is a very long fighter. He's very long for bantamweight. He's 5'11", 71-inch reaches, 71.5-inch reach compared to Mario's 69. Mario's well trained. He works at MMA Lab. Not sure where Patchy trains. Might be Rufus Sport. It says WNY MMA and Fitness, where I have no idea where that is. But I assume he's got to train somewhere. Tim Welch in the corner of Mario Batista, almost surely on the same card as O'Malley. So I assume Tim Welch will be there. You have to put that into play. But I don't see a lot of fear-inducing from Mario's game. I don't think he's really great anywhere. I don't think he's got the greatest knockouts. I don't think he's got the greatest really of anything. And that Aldo win, which was very close, is just aging worse. Like, we pretty much saw a similar thing happen with the Ayman Zahabi. Aldo hurt Ayman Zahabi a lot more than he hurt Mario. Mario also made it a way much more boring fight than Zahabi did. Zahabi fought Aldo like a man, at least most of the fight, whereas Mario didn't. And then Aldo completely gassed out. So I kind of see it as like, that was an old man Aldo that was getting ready to retire again. He just came out pretty much for that Rio de Janeiro co-main event, kind of just to fight Jonathan Martinez is the way it felt, just to get that big Rio moment. But Mario is, I don't think that Aldo win really has too much weight anymore. Whereas I think the grappling in this fight heavily favors Patchy Mix. And I think if Patchy gets on Mario's back, it probably goes a whole round. I think Mario's probably got good enough defense to not get submitted by Patchy, so I think it could be a decision scenario. Or I could also see it being kind of like a back flat, ground and pound TKO for Patchy after multiple rounds of the body triangle wearing on Mario's ribs and his gas tank. I'm going to go Patchy Mix here. I think he's ready for the UFC. He's one of the guys I've wanted to see in the UFC. And I just don't think Mario really has an X factor. And I think that's what's going to make him lose. I think Patchy's X factor is the ground game, those long legs, those long limbs where he can stretch out a body triangle and just flatten somebody out with his legs. Like, I think that's an X factor that Patchy Mix has here. The big, long arms that he uses to snatch up guillotines and darces. That's something Mario can't do. And I don't think Mario really has a knockout ability on the feet like that to strike Patchy, really. And even if he does, I don't think it'll outweigh what Patchy has done to him on the ground. So I think it'll probably be a late ground and pound TKO or submission by Mix or a decision. I think I'll probably go decision because I think Mario's got good defense. Man, we saw that Damon Blackshear fight. That didn't go very well. Damon Blackshear was taking him down left and right, and that's kind of a smaller bantamweight compared to a long, tall, strong, experienced champion, Patchy Mix. I know it sounds like I'm glazing him because I am, but he's fucking good, and I think he beats Mario Batista. I could see a finish here, but I think I'm going to go 30-27. I think Mario just doesn't have an X factor, whereas I think Patchy's is the ability to kind of just hold people in body triangles and the long limbs. Leave it at that. Decision 30-27 or late round submission or TKO.
Originally, I was going to go with Mario Batista, but went back to the boards and watched some more tape on Patchy Mix. And I did say to myself after the fucking most embarrassing Bellator fighter performance I've ever fucking seen in my fucking entire life, the Patricio Pitbull fight. After that fight, I was saying to myself, I'm done picking fucking Bellator fighters. They're not like UFC fight at all, not UFC caliber at all. But I'm willing to give one last hope for Patchy Mix on this one. Plus, I despise Mario Batista. I think he's horrible for the division, horrible for the sport. I think what Patchy Mix brings into the table is entertaining, and so forth, so on. He's pretty good from what I've seen. He can grapple, he can strike. I don't see Mario Batista doing what he did against Jose Aldo with holding him against the fence and stuff. And I've seen the Damon Blackshear fight. I still think to this day that Damon Blackshear could have won that fight off of control. Mario Batista didn't do anything in that fight. damaging wise or anything. So you got to go with control. And he was getting manhandled every single part known to man in that fight. When it went to the ground, when it was in the clinch, Damon was kind of manhandling him in clinch and grappling exchanges, and I thought they kind of robbed him. But it is what it is. I think Patchy Mix can do what certain other people were able to do to Mario Batista, but better. Freaking Corey Sandhagen was able to sub him. Get that. Corey Sandhagen was able to sub Mario Batista. That is not impressive to me. That is not impressive to me at all if you're going against a grappler like Patchy Mix. I think Patchy Mix is going to club and sub him. I think he's going to drop him with something, and I think he's going to catch him with a Darce choke. That's my prediction.
Yeah. I don't mind it. I think I'll see him with a knee. Batista. I could see Patchy doing that as well.
Yeah, Patchy's got good knees too. He knocked out Rafael Stotts, good fighter. Not knocked him out, but he subbed Sergio Pettis, former champ in there, good fighter, former UFC fighter. Yeah, he good ones on his resume that are non-UFC fighters, but it's up there. We'll have what happens. I don't know if he'll be like a top contender per se, like possibly a threat to the title, but we'll have to see what happens. I think he does beat Mario Batista. I don't see what Mario has to bring to the table. I don't see him knocking him out or submitting him. Only way I could see him winning is if it's really, really boring. But I feel like Patchy can play to that game too, because I remember watching one of his fights, and one of them was like hella boring. He was just like, the difference between him and Mario Batista, he got the takedowns in that fight against Kyoji Horiguchi. He wasn't able to get takedowns on Aldo. Anyways, nothing happened. I already know what I said. Club and sub. First or second. Not second or third. Patch next.
Main card opener. Tough fight, 15-2 Mario Batista, 20-1 Patchy Mix. He won the Grand Prix in the PFL Bellator merger, I think it was. He was the bantamweight champion in Bellator. He was a flyweight champion in a other regional promotion. He's a very good fighter, Patchy Mix, making his UFC debut. He's got the experience. He's not going to come in and get cold feet, I don't think. I think he understands the opportunity he's been given in his debut to get someone already in a ranked position like Mario Batista. I'm more higher on Batista than most. Most people don't like him because of the Jose Aldo performance, but I picked him in his latest run of fights. I picked him in the Ricky Simon fight. I picked him in the Aldo fight. I think Alex said it best about Batista. He really isn't a grappler when you really watch him fight. He's just a guy who likes to mix it up if the option is available, primarily in the clinch. He likes to get total points. He likes to get control time if he's not necessarily winning on the feet. I think he's got a great gas tank. I think he showed that in the Ricky Simon fight and even the Jose Aldo fight. Even though he failed in the takedown attempts in the second and third round, he was able to even when failing those takedowns, he was able to turn that into control time. And I do understand the narrative going into this fight where a lot of people believe that he will not be able to have that luxury in this matchup against Patchy Mix, and I can completely understand that. I reckon Patchy Mix is the better grappler in this matchup. I would venture to say that. He's probably the bigger guy. He's the more rangier fighter, and his frame and size help him in his grappling very much. I think on the feet it's going to be very competitive. I'd give a slight edge towards Batista just because he's fought at a UFC level. I do think Patchy Mix's wins are good. Kyoji Horiguchi, Rafael Stotts, very impressive. I want to say he beat Sergio Pettis. I could be wrong. I think he beat him. He's got good wins. He's got good wins on his resume. This is such a tough fight. I do not think he will be able to do what he did in the Jose Aldo fight. I don't believe he will be able to push Patchy Mix up against the fence and kind of impose his will and control him. I do not believe he will do that. I think the game plan for Mario is to keep this on the feet. Keep this at range, make this a striking match, where I do believe it can be very competitive. This is tough, but I think I'm going to go with Apache Mix. I don't like the Corey Sandhagen submission loss. Granted, it was a club and sub. Still, getting subbed by Corey Sandhagen isn't ideal when he's primarily a striker. And the Trevin Jones knockout wasn't great. The key variable I see in Mario Batista's losses is he loses to people that are greater or equal to his frame. He wasn't necessarily smaller or bigger than Aldo. He was about on his same stature. Sandhagen and Trevin Jones, I reckon, were the bigger fighter in the cage in those matchups. Patchy Mix isn't small for 135. He's got the grappling edge. I would venture to say he is the more prolific finisher in this matchup. I don't think the UFC would mind Patchy Mix winning in his debut. I think he could spice up this bantamweight division. A statement that I am confident to make about this fight, I do believe a potential dark horse will emerge from the winner of this fight in the bantamweight division. I think both of these guys have good momentum. They're very well-rounded. And I think they could compete with a lot of guys in the top 10, the winner of this fight. I think they will... whoever wins this fight, I reckon, is a dark horse of 135. A guy that nobody is looking at under the radar, and I think can make competitive with a lot of guys. So, I'm going to go with Patchy Mix in a decision. I do think Mario Batista is tough. I don't think he will get finished. I could be wrong, because Patchy Mix is a great finisher. But I think Mix is going to be able to be competitive enough on the feet to earn respect from Batista. Maybe even give Batista a taste of his own medicine, controlling him up against the fence. If he's able to get takedowns, he can get towards dominant positions where he can get significant control time with submission attempts and maybe even tee off with ground and pound. But I think Patchy Mix will get his hand raised in a decision in a hard-fought 15-minute fight. And successfully win his UFC debut. Good fight, though.
Moving on to our next main card fight, a welterweight fight between Vicente Luque and Kevin Holland. You know, we've been going in order where I've been usually going first. I will extend the offer for Mike to go first if he wants to.
For the first time ever, I would normally say fuck Kevin Holland. I'm gonna pick against him and shit like that. But honestly, I don't know what to go for, so I'll let you go first, Alex.
I am actually going with your boy, Kevin Holland, I believe, is going to be my pick. Vicente Luque, you know, if Vicente Luque of old shows up, he could very well win, but I don't think that's the era that we're living in anymore. I understand that he fucked up Themba. Saw that. We all saw that, but that's also Themba. You know what I mean? You know, it wasn't too long ago where he was pretty much ETE maxing. He had that hemorrhage in his brain against Jeff Neal, and I just feel like he hasn't been the same since. You know, he kind of like just shelled up on the ground against Buckley. You know, I understand the Jeff Neal fight. You know, that was the brain injury. The RDA fight, he like grappled the entire time, and came back against Themba. You know, he showed that he's back. But if Luque has confidence, I think he could beat Holland. That's the thing. I don't think we're living in that era anymore. I think Holland is. Thing is about Holland, he's not very good, but you know exactly where Holland is on the totem pole. You know what I mean? You know exactly where Holland is. You know, he's right outside the top 15. Pretty much fringe, right on like 16, 17, 18 range, and that will never change, and that has never changed. Luque, though, it's a little bit more questionable. You don't know if he's still the top 10 Luque, or if he's completely washed bottom 50 Luque. You know what I mean? Where he's no chin, no confidence, and will be cut soon. You don't know. I know he beat Themba, so he's clearly still better than Themba. So it's safe to say he's not completely washed, but there's a massive jump from Themba to Kevin Holland as well. Themba's kind of just like a poor African kid that made it big, whereas Kevin Holland, like, even though he's a part-time fighter, he is a fighter. Like, he's quality enough to stay in around the rankings for a couple of years. Whereas I don't think Themba will ever get there. Holland's got the range, and throughout more of his career lately, he's been using his range more. He's been popping his jab more, using his range that he has over almost every fighter that he has. Almost every fighter that he fights, he has a reach advantage. And it won't be any different here against Luque. Both of them are kind of known as Darce specialists. Both are strikers, but their submission of choice is usually the Darce, both of them. I think on an output basis, I have to give it to Holland. I think Holland will throw more even than a Prime Luque would, unless Prime Luque was really, really in the pocket with him. But nowadays, Luque, with this inactive Luque, I could see Kevin Holland keep him at range more than, Luque of old would be kept at range at. I think Luque has just lost it a little bit. I think, even if he comes into that first round confident, his confidence could soon be stripped away from him by a good punch or a good jab or something that hurts his head. You know what I mean? And that's the thing when you're coming off of big injuries like this. It's the confidence. Like, is Silva going to be able to throw his right kick again and stuff like that? And when you have like a real brain injury that isn't a concussion, like a real hemorrhage or something like that, like, and he not too long ago gave his heart to Jesus and God and went full Christian, got baptized, which I think is a good thing. But I also think it was maybe a result of a near-death experience that he had with this brain injury. And I think moving forward, you could say he's got God in him now. Now he's going to be all empowered and stuff. But you could also say he could come in less confident because of that brain injury, just more cautious than he should be. And maybe, his days of a fighter are kind of coming to an end. And even if he can take the blows, he might not think he could, and that could result in a shyer Luque, a Luque that's quitting like he did against Buckley, where he's just sitting there waiting for the fight to be over. And Holland, I don't think his power is all that, but when he gets the punches full extension, he is known to sleep people, and I could see that happening here, but I do think it'll probably be a fight where, and I hope I'm not right, but I think after a good first round, Luque is just kind of going to be Anthony Smith-maxing, where he doesn't want to be hit anymore, and he's just hell-bent on not getting knocked out, taking as little damage as he can and surviving. I think he could try to wrestle. I think that's a way for Luque to try to win, but I think, Holland's got a decent front choke of his own. He's improved his grappling. He's stayed safe on the ground against a guy like Gunnar Nelson, who's a strict BJJ guy. I worried for Luque in the cage. I don't like that brain hemorrhage, and I know he knocked out Themba, but that just doesn't do it for me. If he beat Holland, that'll do it for me, because I know where Holland ranks. I know Holland is a fringe 15 guy, and that won't change until we see it change later in his career. But Luque, I don't know where he stands anymore. He might be the same Luque, a little bit worse, or ready to retire. I don't know. But I know where Holland stands. So I'm going to use that to pick Kevin Holland by decision. I just think Luque will try to survive at some points, and I don't think he'll like getting hit. I don't know if that'll result in him shooting more, or avoiding the fight completely, or quitting. I don't know, but Holland will hit him. Themba didn't hit him. Holland will hit him. This is going to be a good firefight of old. This is a Luque firefight, you know what I mean, where both guys are swinging back and forth. Can Luque still handle that? I don't know. I'm going to go Holland by decision.
For the first time that I'm going to say this, honestly, for the first time in this channel that's ever happened, I'm going to actually pick this fucking bum to win a fight. I'm going to pick Kevin Holland by knockout. I think he's going to knock out Luque. Or club and sub him like how he did with Chiesa. One of the two. Alex said it best. And plus, despite my dislike for the fucker, he's not good. I still think he's shit, but for these gimme fights and the UFC just has that type of privilege they give him for for fighters that aren't the same and washed up fighters. So this is the fight where he will probably win. I do got Holland, unfortunately, by club and sub, or he is going to knock. I think he's going to club and sub him. I think he's going to do what he did to Chiesa. Unfortunately, I don't think Vicente Luque is the same. He's getting older. He's not taking the same blows the same. Just not. If it was back then, for sure I'm picking. I'd pick Luque to win, but I don't know, man. It honestly, it comes down to who's going to quit first. Is Holland going to quit when the fight gets closer and he can't defend takedowns against Luque, or if Luque just out hustles him and out dogs him? I could probably see that, or Luque just quits off of just getting dropped one time by Holland. It honestly goes by who quits first. But yeah, I can't believe I'm saying this. Kevin Holland, club and sub. Still fuck Kevin Holland though.
Trillium.
Good fight. Vicente Luque, I want to say he's 2-1 in his last 3 fights, coming off the Jeff Neal brain hemorrhage. I actually bet him against Rafael dos Anjos. I figured, he'd just be the bigger fighter in that type of fight. And he fought very smart, considering he was coming off a brain hemorrhage TKO loss in his prior fight. But at the same time, it was like he was the underdog in that fight, but it was a decent matchup for him. Rafael dos Anjos isn't that big of a 170 of a welterweight fighter. And Luque was just able to kind of control him in the clinch and just be the bigger fighter and use his frame as a way of scoring in that fight. Then I picked against him. I said second round TKO for Joaquin Buckley, and he did just that. The sentiment I got out of both of those fights was that Luque, he just is not the same in terms of the reckless abandonment, the malicious, the marauder, going forward type style that he used to have that made him special. He was a real violent fighter, very violent. And I think that Jeff Neal knockout, made him kind of reset his whole style and everything altogether. And he's trying to be more of a technical fighter. I picked against him in the Thimba Garimbo fight. I thought Thimba would be able to get takedowns and he would be able to potentially ground and pound TKO Luque, similar to how Joaquin Buckley was. But Luque came in really sharp in that fight. He was the more well-rounded fighter. He was the more experienced fighter. And he was able to stay composed and just display that he had more skills than Themba Garimbo. As we go into this matchup with Kevin Holland, since 2020, I want to say Kevin Holland is the most active fighter in the UFC. I want to say he has like 20 fights since 2020. Regardless of your stance on Holland, whether you think he's good, whether you think he's bad, whether you think he's middle of the pack, journeyman, indifferent, he does have some sneaky wins on his resume. The Gunnar Nelson fight, honestly, Gunnar Nelson really could have won that fight despite getting dropped at the end of the first, and that completely changed that fight. That knockdown at the end of the first round drastically changed that fight. That was Gunnar Nelson's round, and then he got dropped, and that became Holland's round. And then Gunnar Nelson proceeded to grind out grappling exchanges for the next 2 rounds, but Holland was able to just have more damage off that knockdown he capitalized in the first round. It was a very close fight, even though Holland won it. I don't think Luque is that caliber of grappler that Gunnar Nelson is. And I know Luque has a lot of submissions in the welterweight division, but a majority of those were club and subs, where he was just rocking and breaking his opponents into quitting submissions. Kevin Holland doesn't have terrible jiu-jitsu, He was able to knock out granted it was an old man, Jacare Souza, nonetheless, when do you see people get knocked out from, while on bottom? That usually doesn't happen. But he always carries a reach advantage into his fights. He has sneaky power, great durability. I know he's been TKO before, but he's never really been, flatlined. He's got a really good chin. Kevin Holland's got really good durability. In his TKO losses, they were either him quitting because his hand or something was broken in the Wonder Boy fight, or it was a headbutt, no contest in the Kyle Dawkins fight, but for the most part, haven't really seen him like get flatlined. And like I said, he has sneaky wins on his resume, man. On the regional scene, he knocked out Jeff Neal. He knocked out Joaquin Buckley. Granted, it was at 185, but still, you gotta, that's an impressive win, especially now that we see how he's transcended in his career. And he beat a good grappler in Gunnar Nelson. I'm going to go with Kevin Holland here. I just don't think Luque wants to get hit, man. I don't think he wants to get into a fight for real. I think he really wants to kind of fight perfect, kind of fight super technical, try to do all the little things right. Kevin Holland, I think, is good enough on the ground not to get subbed, not to get controlled. He could scramble. He's the longer fighter. He's the more active fighter. He's got the power advantage, I reckon. Or at least more willingness to throw, more intensity in his shots. Luque just doesn't really want to brawl anymore. He really wants to keep everything in front of him and be as technical as possible. If he's able to mix in the grappling, maybe he can make this interesting, but I'm going to go with Alex's prediction. I think Luque is going to get caught with something that's going to make him second-guess himself, and he's just going to kind of Lionheart his way into not getting killed. Just kind of surviving, not really wanting to win, but really stressing more on not wanting to lose. So I think he'll just kind of coast and be outpointed by Kevin Holland at range for 15 minutes. I'm going to go with the Kevin Holland decision. I could definitely see a TKO occurring if Luque is more willing to bite down on his mouthpiece and enter in the center of the octagon. But I think he's just going to be too shy, too unwilling to grit down. I think he will just be content with losing on points to Kevin Holland in a potentially controversial decision. I'm going to go with a Kevin Holland decision win, off points.
Yeah, that's another clean sweep. I was surprised Mike picked Kevin Holland as well.
Yeah.
But, yeah, another clean sweep again.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta let your ego aside and pick and be honest with yourself. Even though he's a ass bitch, but
he's still a mid fighter.
No, he's shit. He's still shit. Nothing will convince me that he's not shit. Like I said, he's one of the definitions of. If you go on Webster's dictionary, he is on there on Dana White privilege. That motherfucker's got privilege known to man, but he'll run out soon.
But our next fight is a middleweight fight between Joe Pyfer and Kelvin Gastelum. Rebooked since the Mexico card. Pyfer and Gastelum finally face off. My prediction won't change very much from the time I predicted it on the Mexico card. I'm picking Joe Pyfer. I think Joe Pyfer is just more in his prime. I think he's bigger, got more power behind his punches. I think Gastelum's chin is probably on the downcline. I don't think he is chinny yet, but I could see this being the fight that makes him chinny. Pyfer's really got... I think he's probably the most powerful guy in the division. I can't think of a guy who's got more power than him at light heavyweight, to be honest. So I think he's probably the most powerful, unless I'm just missing somebody. But I think when he'll connect, it'll be slightly different than when Cannonier was dropping Gastelum back in the day, or people like that. I think Pyfer's got different power. He's a lot bigger than like a Cannonier or a Costa. Has Gastelum fought Costa? Who am I thinking of that he fought?
Whitaker.
I want to say he fought like another big power puncher that was like fucking rocking his shit. I don't know who that was. Maybe I'm just dumb. But Gastelum's taken a lot of big shots throughout his life, throughout his career. Pyfer's got different power. I think Pyfer's the type of guy to ruin his chin. I think Gastelum's, he's small, he's fat. I don't think Pyfer's going to have too hard of a time finding his chin either. And honestly, I think underrated part of Pyfer's game is his grappling. He's got great jiu-jitsu. He's got good takedowns. He trains with Sean Brady and other good grapplers. I think he could knock him out on the feet, and I also think he could submit him on the ground. I think Pyfer could win either way. I think he's bringing a little extra angry man salt to this one because the whole Mexico situation where he got stomach poisoning, he's going to take it out on Gastelum. But I think Pfeiffer's just more in his prime. He's got more power. I think Gastelum's time is nigh on done. I think Gastelum might have a chance, trying to be the more technical boxer and outbox him. But I think Pfeiffer's got the type of power you don't really want to fuck with either. And I think it's probably best for Gastelum if he just doesn't, be honest. So I think Gastelum really is kind of fucked here in the grappling and the striking. I don't think there's a lot he can do. I think he's just going to be scrappy and just give it his best like Gastelum does, but I don't think it'll be enough. I think Pfeiffer could probably ruin his chin here. And I could honestly see him taking the Sean Brady game plan since he trains with Sean Brady. I think he can get into a Kimura position where he can take him down and probably get the arm. So keep an eye out for that too. I could see it being a submission or a knockout. But I think Gastelum's about done. I'm going to say a second round. I'm going to say submission. I think a second round submission is in order. I'm going to say a Kimura by Joe Pfeiffer in the second submission.
I'm gonna agree with Alex. I got Joe Pfeiffer as well. Joe Pfeiffer is a very good prospect in the division. While I think Kevin Gastelum is the fattest man in the division, you got to get rid of him. I think his fat ass is done. I just don't like Kelvin Gastelum. I know he's not a bad guy or anything like that, but dude's just unprofessional in certain scenarios. He's fat, out of shape, and if I'm not mistaken, one of his teammates or whatever was like talking shit about Pfeiffer, and I think that's when I think Pfeiffer is definitely gonna use some fuel on that too. Like one of his coaches or whatever was talking shit about Pfeiffer, saying that he was unprofessional for not showing up to fight, yet his fighter consumes like 3,000 calories per fight. But it is what it is. I got Pfeiffer by KO. I think he's going to smoke. I think it's going to be the first or the second round that he knocks him out in. I don't see Kelvin Gastelum winning. I'd be surprised. I think Kelvin Gastelum's done. I think he's getting fatter. He's getting more unathletic as he continues to fight. And I think this will probably be the nail in the coffin where UFC cuts him. I think he's done.
Yeah, I think I'm going to make it a clean sweep. Pfeiffer definitely prefers this fight being in Jersey, closer to Philly than Mexico, as we all know. That he got all mad because he got the stomach flu and said I'd never fight in Mexico ever again. Yeah, I think I agree with Alex. I could envision a world where Pfeiffer knocks Gastelum out. I could see one where he subs him. I don't think this fight's going the distance. I think Pfeiffer's about to beat Gastelum like a piñata. I'm just torn on whether he's going to knock him out or club and sub him, because I could also see a submission as well. I think his grappling is underrated. We all know his power, as we all know. I really see no path to victory whatsoever for Kelvin Gastelum. He can wrestle, but I don't see it. I don't see him controlling Pfeiffer, who has a jiu-jitsu game of his own. He has a reach disadvantage in this matchup. I think Pfeiffer's the more powerful fighter. The only thing I guess you can give Gastelum maybe is durability, but I mean, what good is it if you can't necessarily hurt Pfeiffer and you can't make it a fight about who's tougher? I just think Pfeiffer's bigger, stronger, better in the grappling and the striking. Unless he gasses out, which I just don't envision happening. I mean, yeah, I just can't see really a path to victory here for Gastelum in any way, shape, or form. I think, I'm just torn whether he gets a KO or a sub. I'll go with a second round TKO, probably via ground and pound, where in the first round, I think he'll just, win a majority of the boxing exchanges. He'll land the more impactful shots, the bigger moments. And then in the second round, Gastelum's going to want to try to win this round back after he's lost the first, and he's going to try to go forward, and that's going to lead to Pfeiffer either dropping him and then jumping on top and finishing him from there, or I think Gastelum. Now I'll go with that because I can't I could, but I can't see Pfeiffer offensively wrestling. I feel like he's opportunistic with his grappling and submission attempts. I feel like he doesn't take down his opponent willingly. I think he wants to keep it on the feet for the most part. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna go with that. I think in the second round, Gastelum's gonna go forward, knowing that he lost the first round, and he's gonna get caught, dropped, and then TKO'd ground and pound. Second round TKO, Joe Pfeiffer. Body bags. Is that his nickname?
Yeah.
Yeah, body bags. I don't mind body shots. That midsection is there to be hit. Maybe knees, maybe body hooks, body uppercuts. I could see that. Yeah, maybe not headhunt Gastelum because he usually has a good chin. Try to just attack his torta, his belly. So.
Huh?
His torta?
His torta. His chalupa.
Chalupa Gastel.
His chimichanga. Yeah, just attack his chimichanga gut. He will literally explode candy like a piñata after he's been TKO'd. I think that's what happens.
He's just gonna leak carne asada.
Facts. Just a whole mess of food on that fucking octagon when he just got knocked out. It'll be a good showing for Pfeiffer. I think Pfeiffer's gonna look good in this matchup. I think this is tailor-made for him, low-key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pfeiffer's just bigger, stronger at this point.
Literally. Yeah, I can't see any path for Kevin.
He's definitely coming in with some racial intentions in this fight.
Yeah. He's mad about that Mexico shit. He's definitely taking it out on gas.
Plus, he's probably heard all the shit that Gastelum's corner has said about him.
Yeah.
His talking a lot of shit before after he pulled out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's extra bulletin board material right there.
We ready to move on?
Yes, sir.
Our next fight, I believe, is the co-main event, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
I think Pfeiffer and Gastelum is the feature fight. It is.
Yep.
I don't like that. But our co-main event is women's MMA. Yeah. Juliana Pena versus Kayla Harrison. Fuck. Juliana Pena fucked up. That should be what happened. Kayla Harrison should fuck her up. Of course, women's MMA. Juliana Pena could maybe just survive and somehow submit her. Happened before. So, Kayla Harrison's more of a grappler, though, by trade than Amanda Nunes was. I think it's a major disrespect if she gets submitted by Pena. Pena's not good. I don't know how. We all know Pennington should have won that. Let's be real. So, I think it's just about time Kayla Harrison just takes her place on the throne, and they build Harrison versus Nunes after that. Pena is just kind of in the way. She's always injured. She's inactive. 11-5 is a terrible record as a champion. 18-1 is a lot better. Kayla Harrison's just way more dominant. She's got man arms. She's like the Hulk Hogan. I think Pena is just, too feminine. And Kayla Harrison's masculine, and she's going to destroy her. I think it could be a TKO or a submission. I'm leaning towards crucifix elbows. I think she's going to try to make it a point to punish Pena. And I think ground and pound is a position where, and the crucifix especially, is a position where Pena's not going to be getting up. And the elbows are, there's a lot of scar tissue on Pena's face from the Nunes fight, the second one. I think Harrison could crack that open. And you know how referees are with women's MMA fights. First sight of blood, they're stopping it. So I'm going to say second round TKO by crucifix. I think Kayla Harrison's just bigger, more dominant. She's meaner. She's when she gets on top, I think Pena will stay there. So I'm going to go Kayla Harrison. I'm going to go TKO second round via crucifix.
I'm going to side with Alex. I got Kayla Harrison winning. I think she's just going to maul Pena, unfortunately. I really want to see the downfall of Kayla Harrison happen. I really, really do. I know people may think, like, why do I want it to see it happen and stuff. I don't know. I just don't like Kayla Harrison. She's just one of those, like, she's one of those Bo Nickel type of women's grappler. Like, I mean, Bo Nickel type of grapplers where they just talk a lot of shit because they are, like, they either were Olympians or they were really good in college. And she hasn't stopped running her mouth about her level of grappling and stuff like that. And I even heard her try to say that she could beat a man in fucking grappling, which is insane to me. But really depends on the man, but it is what it is. I don't know. I just don't like Kayla Harrison. She's fucking annoying. I would love to see Pena win, but honestly, I don't really care about this fight. I think I'm gonna kill Pena. I think we're gonna champion, unfortunately, and it's not gonna be. We'll get to the main event in a minute. I think we're gonna have one champion here, and I think that's about it.
All right, are you ready for an extensive breakdown? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. This is peak women's MMA. This is as elite as it gets in the bantamweight division. This is Kayla Harrison, who was a champion in PFL, if I'm not mistaken. I think I want to say she was a champion and probably a Grand Prix winner or something. In PFL, she only had like one loss for the most part to, why am I drawing a blank? What is her name? Oh my goodness. She just lost to Cyborg. What is her name? Larissa Pacheco. Yeah, Larissa Pacheco. And she already had beaten her in the past. Juliana Pena, man. I think Juliana Pena is the epitome of women's MMA. You know, Alex critiqued her with the 11-5 or 11-6 record that she possesses as a champion. I think that it epitomizes women's MMA. I think she is the poster child of what a women's MMA champion looks like. She pulled off one of the greatest upsets of all time. Granted, Nunes was recovering from COVID and the gas tank was an issue. Nonetheless, that happened. You can't take that away from Juliana Pena. She did it. She tapped Amanda Nunes in one of the biggest upsets of all time. Lucky? Maybe. Fluke? Maybe. Because as we know in the rematch, the GWOAT showed up, prepared, ready to rock and roll, and she dominated Juliana Pena for the most part. Something that you do have to say about Pena, even though she has been finished in the past, I don't know if she's been TKO, but I know she's been submitted before by Jeraine Durandamy, a kickboxer. I know. It's women's MMA. I think she's got championship toughness. Necessarily not the skill, not aesthetically as pleasing as say a Shevchenko. Shevchenko really looks technical in a lot of aspects of everything she does, whether it's her footwork, whether it's her boxing, her kicks, her takedown entries, her submission attempts, her transitions into dominant positions in the grappling. It looks skillful, it looks amazing, it looks technical. Juliana Pena isn't necessarily going to do all that. She's going to do her thing, She's going to make this a fight. She's got great gas tank, great durability. I think she's as tough as nails, man. I think if you're going off just sheer desire to win, Juliana Pena is one of the best in the world. I really do feel that. She's doing a great job promoting this fight for women's MMA standards. I think the press conference, I'll be tuned in to see how she. I think they're going to carry. I think that's going to be like truly the main event of the press conference on Thursday, I want to say. But getting back to the fight, Kayla Harrison on paper is supposed to dominate on this fight. She's like a 600 favorite as the challenger. Her Olympic background, the judo, the top position, the ground and pound that she's able to inflict upon opponents is nasty, to say the least. She dominated Holly Holm in her debut, and then she had a admittedly tougher than expected fight with Ketlin Vieira. But for what it's worth, Ketlin Vieira is coming off a nice little win that she just had this past weekend against Macy Chasson. Take that for what you may. Value that at your own disclosure. Kayla Harrison, I do feel, is going to get the takedowns. I could see her landing the ground and pound. But a big question I have in this fight is, I know that she's gone 5 rounds, I want to say, in the PFL. But I just don't know if that's at a UFC pace and a UFC level. Larissa Pacheco has a better record than Juliana Pena, and she probably is a better striker than Juliana Pena, and just more, as Alex would allude to, more lesbian than Juliana Pena. I think Juliana Pena is hetero. That does matter in women's MMA, you know. The success rate of lesbians is definitely noted. But the question I have is, what is Kayla Harrison going to look like in rounds 3, 4, and 5 if we get there? Let's say that she is winning the first 2 rounds and she's looking pretty fucking dominant. What's the gas tank going to look like in 3, 4, 5? Because if there's one thing I can bet on Juliana Pena, from round 1 to round 5, she's keeping that pace. Does she slow down in comparison to round 1? Sure. But the intensity, the willingness to move forward, dude, like, whether you think Pena's good or not, she's willing to move forward on Nunes. That speaks to her desire to win, in my opinion. Like, who's willingly if you're a girl, like, who is walking towards Nunes in boxing range and not scared to get dropped, gets dropped, gets back up, and does it again? Her toughness is truly championship. I really do feel that. There is no, I don't feel like there's quitter in Pena. I don't. She's been finished before, but I don't think she's ever tapped. Like, she will die on her shield. She really is a fighter in that regard. Man, can she pull it off? Like, why do I feel like in 3, 4, 5 she could make this interesting? I do think Pena's got a good jab. I think she's willing to move forward. She's not a terrible grappler. I do think Harrison's better there, but I think I'm going to go with a Kayla Harrison decision win, where she would have landed ground and pound, gotten control time, and just pretty much secured the first 3 rounds, regardless of what happens in rounds 4 and 5. It may even be considered controversial, the decision, but I think the UFC wants a Kayla Harrison Amanda Nunes return fight. I think that's what they want. I think that would be a hyped up fight for women's MMA. Yeah, I'm just thinking big picture. I think they want that more than a potential Pena trilogy with Amanda Nunes in the return fight. But I will say, man, like, I think that would be the epitome of women's MMA if Juliana Pena is somehow able to get her hand raised against Amanda Nunes and Kayla Harrison. That'd be crazy. But I'm going to go with the Kayla Harrison decision, where she secures the first 3 rounds with takedowns, control time, and ground and pound. And we get the Amanda Nunes Kayla Harrison super fight in her return.
This is real.
Yep.
Are we on to the main event now?
Yes, sir.
Oh, Lord, have mercy. The main event, a rematch that, I'm going to be honest, not very many people asked for. Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili. Wasn't that long ago we saw the first fight, to be honest with you. Wasn't that great of a fight to honestly warrant a rematch. Plus, O'Malley wasn't really a multiple defense sort of champion. Nonetheless, we are here. It's a weird one, because Merab, by all accounts, should probably win this next rematch the same way he did the first one, because the fights are not too far apart. That being said, O'Malley is a shot finder. He needs as much time as possible to get his reach and find out when to knock somebody out. And I honestly think him having a 25-minute fight beforehand, coming into this next fight, really beneficial to him, because he's been in there with Merab. And, you know, we saw in the rematch against Cheeto, he did pretty fucking well. Not to say Cheeto and Merab are on the same level, because they're not. Merab's a lot better. But I do think that's an advantage for O'Malley, coming into this fight, being the shot finder that he is, having 25 minutes of his own film to study, of him versus Merab. And I think, you know, as little as something as, you know, his hip may have been, it could have affected his performance. I'm not willing to put a lot of stock into that, but I could see maybe his teeps being more of a weapon in this fight than they were the first fight, his footwork being a little bit faster, and stuff like that. But Merab is going to be fighting the way Merab is. You know, he's going to come forward, and he's going to try to get his takedowns, and it doesn't really matter if he gets them or not. O'Malley has to knock out Merab, more or less. It's tough for him to win a decision. I do think he can, but I think O'Malley's key here is a knockout. And I think Merab is able to be knocked out. I don't think he's that great on the feet, and I do think I don't want to say chinny, but I do think he's able to be knocked out. We've seen him almost get knocked out before by Marlon Moraes. We've seen him hurt multiple times, like in the Cejudo fight. I think O'Malley hurt him into the body in the 5th round. Out of all of the opponents against Merab, I can't think of anybody who's won the 5th round. You guys said Umar may have, but I don't think they scored it for him. But O'Malley did win the 5th round, I believe, on all judges' scorecards with the teep to the body that hurt Merab. And I think the cardio was still there for O'Malley. Same can't be said for a lot of other Merab opponents. His cardio was still there, and he was able to win the 5th round. I rate that very highly. I'm going to be picking Sean O'Malley by knockout in the rematch. That is my prediction. I think Merab is, by all accounts, the best bantamweight of all time. I think he's the GOAT for the bantamweight division. But I think O'Malley gets him this time. I think, teeps are going to be there as long as he cannot get his kick caught. I think he's going to be able to tee off on Merab's body with his kicks at range and jab him and start working and use the O'Malley footwork like we know. And I think it could be kind of like when people picked O'Malley in the first fight, I think it could go that way this time. Because I think Merab coming in with a broken toe this time, and it's not anything new for Merab to come in with a, an injury. But a thing like a broken toe, it will affect your footwork. And footwork is O'Malley's game. And if Merab is more of a sitting duck than he normally is, that buys an advantage for O'Malley. And that's more of an advantage, I think, being a broken toe than maybe something else, like maybe a staph infection. I think this is bigger for what's his name? O'Malley. We just got called from the group chat. I think it's Sync. But
my phone's charging.
But yeah, I think O'Malley is going to find the shot this time. He's very good on the feet. People underrate him because of the whole theatrics that he does with the dyed hair and his wife and the open relationship shit. But people forget very easily that he's a very talented striker, and he can switch people's lights off in the bantamweight division. He's got very good timing. He's got very good extension on his punches. He reads very well. And I think he's made a couple reads on Merab, and I think Merab's kind of attitude toward this fight is a little bit worse than I would want if I was picking Merab. Merab, I feel like, is somebody that kind of has to get mad at his opponent. Like with Jan bringing up Georgia and Russia and all the history there just to make himself mad at Jan. He's making this whole scene with Cejudo, and they're facing off backstage, and they don't like each other, and the whole Aljo thing, and he's got to build his opponents up to be a villain, and kind of like it was in the first O'Malley. But this second fight, O'Malley's really not giving him anything. Like, he's kind of being Merab's friend, and I feel like Merab, the same Merab, he likes people. He famously didn't want to fight Aljo because they're friends, and I think he's friendly with O'Malley now. He could feel, I don't want to say apathetic, but maybe the killer instinct isn't there like it normally would be. And I feel like it is true that Merab has to kind of get mad at his opponents, and I don't think he's going to be able to get mad at O'Malley, really. And Merab's got great cardio, but his wrestling, let's be honest, isn't fucking phenomenal. Best thing we've ever seen. It is good. And he's a better wrestler than O'Malley for sure, but I don't think his wrestling is night and day what we've seen. It's his cardio that really is what it is. It's the failed takedown attempts. It's the him going, and never stopping. That's the problem. You can defend 2 takedowns, but try defending fucking 50. It's a lot harder. I think if O'Malley keeps the range and where he gets away from the fence, he stays outside of or inside the black lines, he controls the center of the cage and doesn't let Merab pressure him. He can't outwardly pressure Merab either because he's going to run into takedowns. But controlling the center of the ring, making Merab be the one to skirt around on his broken toe, will be how O'Malley gets this done. He has to stay in the middle of the octagon, and this fight can 100% be won by Merab. I know that. Even though I'm picking O'Malley, it's not lost on me that Merab can 100% win this fight. But I think O'Malley can find the shot this time. I think he saw that the body is open to Merab. I think that'll be a target next time with the teep. I think he will be able to throw teeps and kicks more often because of his hip surgery. I think O'Malley knows this is his last shot. He can't be the superstar and all these things that he talks about if he loses to Merab. He can't. okay, so like in his mind, Conor lost to Nate Diaz, but he can come back and beat Nate Diaz again. And to be fair, it's sort of true, because if O'Malley loses again, he's done at bantamweight. Like his title careers are put on hold, at least for now. You just got O2'd by the champion. If Merab stays the champion, you're not getting another title shot. And Merab's already ran through everybody. So if he beats O'Malley 2 times in a row, that's kind of it, unless there's a new champion for O'Malley. And O'Malley knows that, and that's a hit. You know, you have lost twice now to somebody. There's no, I won 2 rounds, ha ha ha, or there was it was a nerve thing, it was a toe hit. It's not a real thing. The Sugar State Athletic, none of that applies now. He has to win this fight for him to stay who he is. If he loses, he's Adesanya. You know what I mean? Where Adesanya is right now. No chance of getting a title shot anytime soon. So he needs to win this. It's a must win, and I think that we are seeing that in the way he's acting in the press conferences. I talked with you guys about that a little bit earlier. I think he's being very reserved because he knows, like, this is his last shot. Like, the public opinion is O'Malley's probably going to lose this, and if he does, he's fucked. Like, he's not getting a title shot. O'Malley's done. But O'Malley needs this fight for his legacy. Like, if he wants to be the O'Malley that he's built up in the fans' mind and the UFC promotion, has to win this fight. And I think that's why he's coming so stoic. He stopped Jay and the Peen. He stopped smoking weed. He stopped gambling. All bets are off. Everything is going into this. This is O'Malley's last chance. And I think we're going to see almost a desperate O'Malley in there. Like, I think O'Malley is going to put all the stops out there. He's going to try everything in his fucking power. He's going to stop every bad habit. He's going to put in every good habit. He's going to do everything he can to beat every fucking mental trick. He's going to do everything to beat Merab. I could see him going fucking intentional eye pokes. I'm going to be honest. I think O'Malley is putting everything into this. I could see him being on the juice. I think O'Malley is like cold-hearted, fucking cold-minded. I need to kill this guy. I need to get this fight. Otherwise, my life is over. I think that's the way O'Malley thinks about it. Like, this is such an important fight for his legacy. Because if he loses, the casual fans will not treat him the same way. His fucking stardom goes away like that. He's still in a title fight. He could still be a champion. The casuals are aware of that. As soon as he's no longer in the title picture, he's no longer loved. And he's never been the long, dominant champion of Adesanya where he's going to get his respect once he's older. You know, he ain't done enough yet. He needs to keep his image up. He cannot lose. And I think he knows that, and he's going to put every stop out. Second round KO by O'Malley. I think a good first round. He's going to be able to keep it on the feet mostly, but I think there's going to be times where Merab's in on the takedowns. O'Malley's going to look almost like too calm out there, and then he's just going to make his reads, come into the second round, and he's going to put Merab face first. I don't know how he's going to do it. I'm going to say, like, maybe similar to the way he put out Aljo. I could see that happening. But fuck, I think this is UFC plot armor coming up. I think he gets it done. I'm going to say O'Malley. Knockout.
As much as I want to fucking agree and pick with Alex here, last time we did this and I didn't go with my gut that Merab was going to win, he ended up fucking winning. So, unfortunately, I'm going to have to continue with my gut here. I got Merab by decision, 49-46, maybe a 50-45 decision here. I hope O'Malley comes into this fight, knocks him out cold, fucking does that little hoop celebration, dunking on his grave or some shit. That would be fun. I hope that happens. I like that. I think O'Malley winning is best for the sport right now. Like, the sport's starting to become in the Great Depression era. People may like Merab now, but I'm telling you right now, once people start, like, stop finding ways to liking him, people are going to finally realize, oh, this guy ain't even all that, man. It's not, his personality ain't even all that. He's just a fucking Georgian dude that speaks broken English and knees you on the thigh against the fence, failed takedown. I think people are going to start figuring that shit out, but unfortunately, I think Merab is going to fucking win. And I think it's going to be bad. I think this is the year where all the big names start losing.
event of the evening, UFC 316. This is Merab's homecoming. This is in Newark, New Jersey, not too far off from Ray Longo's gym. This is Merab's home game. He gets his championship fight in his home court. We all know how the first fight went at UFC Noche. I want to say that was UFC 306, about 10 pay-per-views exactly ago. Merab was able to push the pace. He was able to cluster O'Malley, not give him the range to necessarily get his offense to where he wanted to. But even in moments where he was losing, O'Malley was able to find some shots. They were able to hurt Merab. But Merab's potentially, if not already, the greatest bantamweight of all time, given the track record that we've seen. He has names on his resume that include Sean O'Malley, Petr Yan, Henry Cejudo, Jose Aldo, John Dodson, Umar Nurmagomedov. Like, the list goes on and on. He truly may just be the greatest bantamweight of all time, if not already. And I don't think it's hyperbole to say that he may just also have the greatest cardio in MMA history as well. In my opinion, that is what makes him so special. He's not the best wrestler. He's not the best striker. But his pace is something that his opponents simply cannot match. They cannot match the tempo that he conducts the fight at. Whether it be on the feet, whether it be against the cage, whether it's takedown attempts. Even if he gets hurt in the Marlon Moraes fight, in the Henry Cejudo fight, even in the Sean O'Malley fight, he finds a way to power through, impose his will, and wear down his opponent. It's truly special in that regard. He doesn't really have any finishes in the UFC, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think he has a finish, but his cardio is his ultimate weapon. In my opinion, conventional wisdom would tell you that it's not smart to go to a decision with Merab Dvalishvili. You very much have to kill him. He's like a cockroach. If you take his head off, he could low-key still survive. You have to really make sure he's put away. And we haven't really seen anybody be able to do that. I look back to the last time he lost. I think it was the Ricky Simone fight. Maybe it was the Frankie Sainz fight, but I want to say Ricky Simone was his last loss. And that was before Merab went on this run that he's on now. I do believe Sean O'Malley understands the opportunity he's been given. This is very important in his career. Some would say it's an unwarranted immediate rematch. He only had the one title defense against Marlon Vera in his rematch. He's kind of skipping the line because at this moment, Petr Yan is signed to fight Marcus McGee. Corey Sandhagen's coming off a win against Deiveson Figueiredo. So at the present moment, the contenders in the top 5, Umar Nurmagomedov, I believe he's thinking of a turnaround in October to return. No top 5 contender in the bantamweight division is open right now. So he just kind of lucked out in that regard. That was smart on O'Malley's part and just kind of sitting out those months from UFC Noche to now. He's about 10 pay-per-views worth of time to train, to watch the film, to see the tendencies that he wasn't able to capitalize on Merab. And let's be real. Going into the rematch, who's going to have more room to improve, Merab or O'Malley? I venture to say it's O'Malley. I thought speed-wise, he didn't look as sharp as he usually does. I thought he looked a little slow, a little flat. I don't want to excuse Merab's win because he very much won that fight. But I want to believe I think I could get a better Sean O'Malley than I got at UFC 306. I'd like to think that. That being said, I do believe Merab is capable of getting his takedowns in this fight. But I also see moments in exchanges where I could see Sean O'Malley getting the better of him on the feet. And conventional wisdom would tell you that you need to kill Merab to win a fight. That is all true. But sometimes MMA doesn't follow the confines of logic. So what I'm about to say is very unlikely, but I think people are going to come back to this video and they're going to be like, wow, he hit that on the nail. I think Sean O'Malley is about to get the belt back in a controversial split decision win.
I can see it.
I think he is going to land powerful shots that get reactions from the crowd, get reactions from the judges, and Merab is also going to secure takedowns and get control time of his own. But I do think O'Malley is going to get up and he's going to be able to not get dominated in the manner that he was at UFC 306. I do think we are going to see some improvements in the takedown defense drastically compared to UFC 306. I do think something that isn't getting stated, though, is yes, O'Malley is a knockout artist. But Merab gets hurt every fight. He recovers very well. So I do think Merab is tougher than we give him credit for. I really do. Because he is able to take a punch and keep it moving. I think this is going to be a very close fight. I think Merab's going to have control time and takedowns. I think O'Malley's going to have significant strikes and damage. And I think O'Malley is going to get the belt back because he would have inflicted more damage than Merab would have controlled him in the eyes of the judges. I think it's going to be a very similar scorecard. Pretty much damn near like a 5-round version of the Jan O'Malley fight is what I envision in this. I see it, Merab coming forward, and I see O'Malley being more willing to be the counter striker in this matchup, see the takedowns coming, and not necessarily go forward on Merab where he can overextend and get caught into a takedown. I think he's going to very much try to do what Alex said, stay in the center of the octagon and control the range of the fight. I think his points, his damage is going to trump Merab's points and his control. So I'm calling for a split decision and new Sean O'Malley win at UFC 316, where it is very controversial, but in the end, the UFC gets what they want. O'Malley gets the belt back, and Merab, we'll see what they do with him after. Maybe a trilogy, but I don't know. Well, those are UFC 316 predictions. We really appreciate you guys for watching the video. Make sure to go like and subscribe.
Indeed.
And yeah, anything else you guys want to say?
Check out the new Instagram that's going to be popping up soon. And we're going to try to upload more videos at some point. Just give us more time and effort, and we'll keep going. We'll keep going.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Peace.
All right, I'll see you guys later.